Okay. Who didn't get one of these papers? Oh, you got one? Oh, yep. You're trying to sneak out on me? Okay, it's really good to be here again this morning. We've had some problems the last few times. The snow got deep and things like that, as you all know, I guess. So we're really grateful to be here today and finish up your study, I guess, on marriage that you've been working on now for a month. I was supposed to have led off with this, so, you know, could do anything. Fortunately, Anthony put all the other sermons onto the internet so I could watch them so I don't repeat anybody's thing. So that's a good thing, huh? What we don't need is somebody to stand up here and repeat everything, right? Might have a different version. I probably do. I got a different version on most things. A lot of times they get me in trouble. I got a little piece here I might read that I wrote for a wedding I did back in about 2005, I believe. I thought it was an appropriate year. Actually, this is sort of, weddings is the thing, right? As Adam came out from under the ancestry, he delighted in the sight of the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth. The creator of the universe had designed and handcrafted this flawless human just for him. You see, yes, she was the one for him. Adam was in love. Eve noticed the adoring glance. I'll get it right after that. Eve noticed the adoring gaze of a handsome and strong young man. She could sense his gentle and caring nature. After all, he had already given part of himself to her. Eve was drawn to him by the overwhelming force of love. Eve had found her man. Adam and Eve had found their soulmate. Things were easier in those days. Not so many to choose from. Today you have what? 2 or 3 billion? Would take your mouse maybe 10 or 20 years on the internet to scan all of them. People aren't like emperor penguins that all go back to one place each year to find a mate. No, us people are a lot different, aren't we? We don't know exactly how long Adam was actually on the earth before Eve was created. Because the book tells us that all of the animals, God brought all of the animals that he had created to Adam first. That he examined all the animals and gave them names in an attempt to find a partner for Adam. And of course, Adam then realized, I am alone. There is nothing like me on the face of the earth. None of the animals can be my partner. And God said it's not good that man should be alone. And so he did a very wonderful thing for Adam. He put old Adam to sleep, first ancestor, took out one of his ribs and formed around that rib the woman. But God also created into that woman the same eternal soul that he had created into the man. So now you see Adam has the perfect helper and mate. The only other one like him. Like him, yes, but also different, right? Because she was a complement to him and he to her. Different in physical appearance and being, different in mental makeup and being? Have you ever noticed that? Us men and women just don't think alike. Women think in circles, and men think in a straight line. You see, a man thinks right straight through something and gets to the end of it and it's done. But a woman thinks in circles, and she says, but what about this and this and this? And you got to bring in all these other things, you know, to get out there to that end. And that's why when we think something is said and done for, and a month later our wife comes in and says, hey, how about this? That's said and done. No, it isn't. You didn't consider. And that's the way we are. Thank the Lord. You know, we're all different. We're all emotionally different too. You know, God is an emotional being, right? God is love. And love is one of the strongest emotions in the universe. I started to say on the face of the earth, but no. God is love, and that takes in the whole universe that He created for us. Isn't that great? So, we are emotional beings. And marriage has a lot to do with our emotional makeup. There was a fellow by the name of Willard Harley, a brother in Christ, who was a professor at the University of Minnesota, also a marriage counselor. He taught marriage counseling and other counseling there. And he was disappointed in his own practice that only about 11 to 12% of the couples that came to him was successful in saving their marriage. And it bothered him that he couldn't get through to these and help them save their marriage. Only 11 to 12%. He talked to his other colleagues and around other counselors and so forth, and they said, you're getting 11 to 12%, that's great. They were only getting 6 or 7. He was good. He wasn't satisfied, so he threw out all of his teaching that he had, all that secular teaching and everything, and threw it out and started fresh, studying the people and saying to them, what is it that would make you happy? What is the one thing you absolutely could not live without in your marriage? What would make you happy? And so he studied those for a long time. And he started talking to people about their emotions building, what their emotions needed to be fed. And you know what? Pretty soon he was helping 75 to 80% of the people that came to him. From 11 to 12 to 75 to 80%. That's something to talk about. A little later, a fellow by the name of Joe Bean, to save his own marriage, got a hold of the book, of books that Harley wrote. Got a hold of the books and he said, I can do this. And he saved his own marriage, and he says, now we need to make it move so that we can save other people's marriages. And so he set up a program called Dynamic Marriage, based on Harley's study and abilities. Connie and I went to Tennessee. What was it, about 2004? Wasn't it? About 2004, something like that. We went to Tennessee for 3.5 days, and we crammed through their study courses down there. They had a whole group in down there, I don't know, a couple hundred of us or something. And we crammed, and we studied the material, and we studied how to present the material. And we came out of there certified as facilitators to the Dynamic Marriage Program. The program consisted of 90 minutes a week as a group. You wanted 12 couples together, at least 12, no more than 15 together. 90 minutes a week for 8 weeks. And we did all that for 3.5 days, and I'm going to give it to you in 20 minutes. Right. Okay. But what Harley discovered is that the thing that destroys marriages is not for the lack of trying. Said most people honestly tried to please their mates. They honestly tried. It was just they didn't know what to do. You see, what we do is He figured out the paper I gave you there is the 10 top emotional needs of people in a marriage relationship. And 9 of those are actually needs in any relationship, okay, or in most relationships. But 10 of them, the top 10, is on that sheet listed in alphabetical order. There's a reason for listing alphabetical order. Anyhow, so they're listed there for you in alphabetical order. He discovered if your mate could fulfill 5 of those 10, of your top 5, if he or she could fulfill the top 5 of those 10 for you, and your mate could do the same for you, your marriage would be fantastic. It would be fantastic. And so that program was set up to save marriages that were on the brink of destruction, to make those that was kind of ho-hum. You know, some marriages are just ho-hum. Well, I'm here, I'll do my part, you do your part, we'll get along, particularly for the kids. And so take those marriages and make them exciting again. And take those marriages that are already exciting and make them very dynamic. And the program was set up to do that, and it would do it. So the problem, he said, was, you see, we tried the wrong things. Have you ever done something for your spouse, those of you who are married or have been married? Ever tried to do something that you thought was absolutely fantastic for your spouse? You put your heart and your soul into it, and you had already envisioned them being thrilled with it and just loving it, and you do it, or whatever it is, you do it, and your mate says, that's nice. You ever had that experience? Yeah, probably, if you've been married for a while. Maybe not even for too long. And you do that a few times, and about the 3rd or 4th time, you say, I might as well give up. There ain't any sense trying this. And the same way works the other way, You try to do something for your mate, and they look at you and say, yeah, well, thanks, I guess I can use it for something. Or maybe I can give it to, oh, you made something for me. Maybe I can give it to them. Oh. The problem was, you see, the men was trying to do what we think, what makes us happy, right? We take what makes us happy and try to do it for our spouse and expect them to be happy, but they're women. So it doesn't work. And the women take what makes them happy and they do it for their spouse, thinking it's got to make them happy, but it don't, because they're men. And we think different. And we have different emotional needs. And the thing is, if you know your spouse's emotional needs, then guess what? You can do something that will really please them, no matter what you think it's worth. You can do something to really please them and make them just the happiest person in the world. And that's what makes a good marriage and prevents affairs. You know what affairs are? In our book, it calls them adultery, right? Do you have to have a physical contact to have adultery? No, you don't. There is that emotional adultery. Jesus says what? If a man looks upon a woman to lust after her, he's committed adultery with her already. The same is true with women toward men. So you don't have to have physical contact, do you? Harley recognizes that too. An affair can be just as hard to get away from as one that has physical contact. And those things are like cancer to a marriage. So what happens is, if somebody else is supplying your mate or you, supplying you with one of the 5 basic emotional needs that you need, the odds of an affair becomes greater with every passing moment. And you don't know. It doesn't matter how strong you are in your religious beliefs or whatever. You don't know. Bears usually start a friendship, and then, boom, something just happens because they are feeding your emotional need. I remember the sad situation we had back in the 1970s, early 1970s, over here in the congregation in Coldwater. First time they appointed elders. I don't know if they've appointed any of them since then or not. But first time they appointed elders. They appointed 3 men. One man, I remember, was an outstanding man in the community. I think he was the editor of the local paper. Outstanding in the community, people knew him. He was one of the great leaders in the congregation. People looked up to him and respected him. He had, I think, a couple of grown children, and he still had one boy there in high school. Just weeks after the appointment of these elders, and this man was one of them, and like I say, was a great man in all respects. Knew his Bible, everything. I mean, he was well qualified. Much to the shock. In about just a matter of weeks, he left everything, took his secretary and left town. Give up the job, give up the church and everything, took the secretary and gone. And his wife gone. What happened? Obviously his secretary was feeding one of his emotional needs that she didn't know about. Or didn't get to. So on that paper you got you got a pencil or a pen to write with? Now for those of you that are married, keep it to yourself. Do your own. Don't think about what your spouse thinks or what you think your spouse might want or anything. Think about you first. Those of you who are not, like I say, most of these things apply to any relationship. Mark in order. I'm not going to take them up and look at them or anything. They're private with you, so be honest, right? Be honest with yourself. In order, from 1 to 5, out of the list of 10, what you would feel that your 5 top-notch emotional needs are. List number 1 is the one that you absolutely cannot live without. Make that number 1. And then number 2 would be the next one down that you absolutely couldn't live without. And 3 and 4 and 5. So as you do that and look at those, I might make a few comments about some of them. We have on there affection, and down at the bottom is sexual fulfillment. Many people get these confused and don't understand. They are different. The same acts can go into both, but they are different. Excuse me. And you cannot have a good marriage without either one. Okay? Now that's not to say that it has to be your primary or even in your top 5. But I'll almost bet that it will be there somewhere. Affection are those affectionate acts such as hugging, sending a card, making a phone call to encourage someone, holding hands while walking on the beach or wherever. Anything that shows that you care. So affection can actually be presented to anyone, a friend, relative, children, whatever. But affection is a non-sexual act. It does not have a sexual motive. Where the sexual fulfillment can be some of those same acts, but the difference is when you do perform those acts, it has a sexual motive. The hugging and the kissing or whatever else has a motive. You know, even going out to dinner, if it has a motive to obtain the sexual act, it then becomes sexual and not affection. So a lot of times what you have is one partner doesn't understand this. They think affection and sex is the same thing, and so when the other partner just wants a little affection, then this partner moves it right straight to the bedroom. And then the other partner is left confused and frustrated because that wasn't what they wanted. Not at that time. Maybe at a different time, but not at that time. You see, at different times, you need different things. So don't get those confused. They are two different things. They are both necessary in a marriage. So, other things, is there anybody have any questions about any of the on it or thing? Because you'll find that sometimes men and women will interpret things very differently.
What is family comment?
Family
comments, what does that mean?
Family
Comments.
comments?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do? Misspell something?
Oh, fifth one down.
Commitment.
Commitments.
Oh,
Yeah.
what he meant.
Commitments. Yeah. Oh. I never know when I type things out. You know. I know that didn't sound right. Commitments. Okay. Family commitments. Family commitments takes in more than just providing for a family. Sometimes we think, if I supply the food and clothes and stuff like that, I'm committed. But family commitment takes in everything like providing, teaching, guiding, upbringing, all of those things is in there. A commitment to basically to the children can be one of the basic needs. Let's see, what have I got? Here we go. Get to the right page, I'll figure that out. Goes beyond child care, includes responsibility for the development of children, teaching them and values of cooperation and care for each other. It is spending quality time with your children to help them develop into successful adults. So that's the definition that he gives in the book. Anything else that's got your question in? One of them maybe you don't understand is being an emotional need. It may be conversation. Some people don't understand conversation as being an actual emotional need, and it is. One of the things that my sister-in-law mentioned a little while after the death of my brother, she said, one of the things I really miss the conversations that we would have. She said no matter when we was together, we always had conversations about anything or everything. And she said, I miss that. And so if something like that is something that you missed, and that's one of your emotional needs. If you're the kind of person that wants to hang onto the telephone for a long time with somebody or something like that, that's probably one of your emotional needs, is that conversation. And it's one of the things that sort of gets lost in the courtship. In the courtship, we do a lot of talking, right? Because in the courtship, both parties are trying to find out everything they can about the other person, who they are, what they like, and so forth. We're trying to find out. So there's a lot of conversation, but then after the marriage, sometimes conversation disappears for some reason. They don't find as much to talk about anymore or something. And if conversation happens to be in that, one of them's top 5 of emotional needs, and it's not getting fulfilled by the other spouse, then guess what? They go shopping for that someplace else. And they find a good friend someplace that likes to talk and back and forth, and particularly if it happens to be a friend of the opposite sex. Affairs usually start with friendships. Things just happen, They are curable, but to cure an affair is really difficult. Really difficult, and it's going to cost you big price. So, and emotional price. things, but it can be done. So conversation is one of those things that some people really need, more people than you realize. Has everybody got their 5 listed now? All right. How much time we got? I'm afraid I'm going to put y'all sleep before I get done with something. Okay, so admiration, right? Many of us have a deep desire to be respected, valued, and appreciated. You know, admiration is one of the easiest emotional things to fulfill. To fulfill your spouse's need for admiration, all you have to do is just compliment them periodically. A little compliment and you've made their day, you know. Just a little compliment. On the other hand, if that happens to be their thing, and you're a critical person and you criticize them, guess what? You've just blown away all the good that you've done before. You've got to be careful about that sort of thing. So the idea is we need to know domestic support, that involves the time, that can be a time bomb waiting to explode. And domestical support, that's things, you know, like taking care of the house, gardens, whatever, dealing with family affairs, whatever, that sort of thing. In the beginning, when a couple's first married, quite often it works out pretty good because they want to still be together a lot, you know, share a lot together, and so they will share the housework and, you know, whatever needs to be done, make sure it gets done so they have time together. And, you know, while you're washing dishes with your spouse, you've got time there. And a little conversation needs to be, it's a good time, really. But then along comes children. God love them, right? We all do. You can't build a church without them. Along comes children, and then that makes extra work for everybody, and things get divided up a little bit more. And if you don't discuss that and settle it and figure it out, that too can develop into, you know, a bad situation. So we need to take care of those things. Family commitment we talked about. Financial support. Even in our day and time. In times past it was a serious thing. Very serious. Even in our day and time, there's more problem there than you can imagine. It hasn't gone away. You know, because now they say, well, used to be the woman pretty much depended on her husband to support her. Now you've got, you know, women are in the workforce, many of them with careers, and they say, well, I can take care of myself. But not to make a marriage work. There's a problem. So if for any reason that a person feels the need for financial support on the basis that either they do depend on it, on their mate for financial support, or the possibility is there that for a period of time they may depend on the mate for financial support, and that's true in just about every case. That can be a major thing because if it's not there, then you lose security. Security is the main thing to most of us. You want to be secure in your livelihood. Basically, you sort of want to know where supper's coming from tomorrow. Yeah, is it all possible? So, it damages security if that's not there. I can give you some examples, but I've got one couple I worked with a few years ago, and I'm really proud of the man when I go into Walmart and see him. Not only is still working, but has advanced himself, because that was a real problem a few years back. He's been there almost 10 years now. I let him know sometimes, no, I'm really proud of you working with me. And we solved that problem. But, there are those problems and situations. Honesty and openness is an absolute must, whether it's somebody's basic emotional need or not. It's an absolute must, because if you destroy trust, and you can destroy trust by holding things back and not being totally honest. You know, basically, we don't intentionally do it. Most of us, we would not do it if we knew and stopped to think about it. But in the courtship, we basically lie to the other person. Yeah. Almost without fail. Why? Because we present ourselves in the best of form. We take care of ourselves physically, mentally. We dress nice. You know, we stay clean. We're impressing the person. We go places with them that we wouldn't go otherwise. We do things with them that we wouldn't do otherwise, just so we can be with them. You know, the guy goes with his girlfriend to the shopping mall to look at shoes and stuff like that he would never do on his own. You know, you do like I do. I buy my shoes out of the catalog. He would never do it, but he wants to be with her, see? And he wants maybe to have another date, something that he likes to do, you know, later on. Go to the ball game. And so he goes to the ball game, and guess what? She goes with him. She don't care a thing about the ball game. I know some women do, but say she doesn't care a thing about the ball game. That's not her thing. She's as bored with that as he was with the shoes, right? But she goes because she wants to be with him. She wants to spend time with him. And so they sort of lie, you know. We've all been there. And then they get married. Well, I don't have to do that anymore. Guess what? If that's one of their emotional needs, you better be fulfilling it, because if somebody else is fulfilling it, you could have a lot of trouble. An old German, I had this situation when I was in the Army in Germany. I had to escort a couple to a German court for a divorce hearing. And the lawyer drove us. And I discussed things with him. And he says, I don't understand it. I said, I just don't understand it. He said, people married 40 years, and suddenly he wants to run around with young women, and she wants to run around with young men. He says, I just don't understand it. People are the same all over. But you see, basically there was something wrong there. They wasn't getting their emotional needs fed, so they went looking someplace else. Most of the time that's true. You do have other things that interfere with marriages. You can have mental illness. In fact, in that case it was. Mental illness. You can have physical illness sometimes. Emotional disturbances. Addictions. If you've got a marriage problem where there's an addiction with one of them, with anything, alcohol, drugs, pornography. Pornography is a big killer. If you're dealing with pornography in your life, get help, get it quick. If you know somebody that's dealing with that, I mean, that stuff comes right into your home right now through the internet. I had a lady call me once. It's been several years ago. A lady called me frantically and said, can you come over here right now? Right now, I need you over here right now. And her thing was she had just found the pornography sites on her husband's computer. And she was terrified and didn't know what to do. I took the computer out of the house and heard not request but demand. Take this thing. I took it out. You know, he called me. He said, we got a problem? I said, we need to talk. Do we have a problem? We need to talk. When can we get to It's a killer. It's a killer. And it is an addiction. It can be treated. So I hope the things that presented here. Now, for those of you that are married, you kept these secret, right, from your spouse. When you get home, take a look, switch them with each other, sit down and discuss them. Because undoubtedly, you're going to find some differences. Harley said his problem was dealing with the couples to begin with. He said he was talking to them about emotional problems or emotional needs, and he said you'd have to answer these things, and invariably the wife and the husband would be absolutely flip-flop. Oh, if you want to know, I'll give you real quick the averages. Okay? Now this is average. That doesn't mean it meets you or anybody else, right? But this is averages. In other words, the one for the women. On the women's list, the most prevalent was affection. Affection was the most prevalent with women. With men, it was sexual fulfillment. That probably don't surprise you a lot, right? The number 2 for women was conversation. We always knew women like to talk, right? Yeah. Now my wife says that I'm the one that likes to talk. And you know what? She's actually right. She's actually right. I don't know if it's, well, I probably would die if it didn't. Number 2 for men is recreational companionship. Recreational companionship. Recreational companionship should be a lot of fun. The thing is, what you got to do is sit down and figure out what kind of recreation that you both like and that you can both enjoy together. That's the key to that. Okay? Well, so in recreation, you're getting both the need for recreation resolved, and you're getting, if one of the person's emotional needs is that, you're getting that fulfilled too. So that's number 2 for men. Number 3 for women is honesty and openness. Honesty and openness. Like I say, either party deserts that, eventually they will have trouble. Number 3 for men is an attractive spouse. An attractive spouse. Number 3. Men like women that look good. You know, so wife looks, girlfriend looks good. If that's the reason that you was attracted to her in the first place, and then after you get married, you know, she just lets it all go, the marriage is in trouble. Same thing's true with men. You know, if a lady looked and said, that's a real handsome dude there, well kept, well groomed, and so forth, you know, and after the marriage, you know, he leaves his shirt hanging open and his beer belly hanging over his belt, guess what? That marriage has got trouble. So, number 4 for women, financial support. Women marry for money. Men marry for lust, women marry for money. Now, you can fight with me about that later if you want to. I say some things sometimes for that. Domestic support is number 4 for men. Family commitment is number 5 for women. And admiration is number 5 for men. So those are the top 5. After studying thousands of cases, that's what the average is. But, that's not you. You're not average, right? You're not average. I'd be surprised if any of you feel it all looks like that. So it's been a pleasure being here. I hope that you got something out of this. If you have any questions later, give me a call or something. I'll be glad to come and talk to you. If you know somebody that's having marital problems that would like to sit down and discuss things. I have done marriage counseling. Had some successes, had some failures. I don't know the percentages, but this is the basic thing After we went through this course, I said, that's it. Because other things I tried didn't work either. But this does. Okay. Song time. Sing us a song.